Two young men got into a car with someone they trusted. A few minutes later, both of them were dead. The driver survived, and for almost 4 years, she said nothing publicly. Then Netflix released a documentary, and everything collapsed. July 31st, 2022, 5:30 in the morning, Strongsville, Ohio, a quiet suburb just outside Cleveland. McKenzie Sharilla, 17 years old, is behind the wheel of her Toyota Camry. 2 passengers. Dominic Russo, 20, her boyfriend of roughly 4 years. DaVon Flanigan, 19, a mutual friend. They had just left a graduation get-together and were heading home. 1 minute after McKenzie turned into the Progress Drive Business Park, her car hit the side of a brick building. The vehicle's event data recorder, the equivalent of a black box on a commercial aircraft, recorded the speed at impact, 100 miles per hour. The accelerator had been pressed fully to the floor the entire time. Not a single brake input was recorded. The car had no mechanical defects. Dominic Russo and DaVon Flanigan were pronounced dead at the scene. McKenzie was airlifted to the hospital with severe injuries. Before she was out of recovery, investigators had already started treating this as something other than an accident. To understand why, you have to understand the 4 years that came before. McKenzie and Dominic had been together since she was roughly 13. By the summer of 2022, they had moved in together. McKenzie had just graduated high school and was not yet 18. People close to the relationship described it as volatile. They had broken up and reconciled multiple times. 2 weeks before the crash, Dominic called his mother, Christine. He told her McKenzie had been driving erratically and dangerously, and that he needed help. Not advice, direct intervention. He then contacted a family friend of his mother's. On that call, the family friend reported overhearing McKenzie in the background say, "I will crash this car right now." She said those exact words 2 weeks before. She drove into a building at 100 miles per hour. Christine Russo turned over video from her son's phone to investigators. Footage of McKenzie being verbally abusive toward Dominic in the days leading up to July 31st. The picture being built was of someone who had already threatened this outcome and who had the means to carry it out. Dominic had seen something coming. He had tried to get help. Nobody could stop it in time. In November 2022, 4 months after the crash, McKenzie Sharilla was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated vehicular assault. She was 17 at the time of the crash, but was tried as an adult. Her defense team's primary argument: McKenzie suffered from postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, POTS, a condition that can cause dizziness and fainting. They argued she may have lost consciousness at the wheel, explaining why she never touched the brakes. Prosecutors dismantled it quickly. No medical records confirmed the diagnosis. No expert testimony backed it up. And McKenzie had continued driving regularly throughout the period she allegedly had a blackout condition. In August 2023, after a bench trial, Judge Nancy Margaret Russo, no relation to the Russo family, delivered her verdict. Guilty on all counts. 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of felonious assault, 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide, additional drug possession charges. The judge's remarks at sentencing were direct. She said McKenzie Sharilla had chosen a course of death and destruction. She called her hell on wheels. She said there could be no doubt about the terror felt by Dominic and DaVon inside that car in their final seconds. On August 23, 2023, McKenzie Sharilla received 2 concurrent life sentences. Parole eligibility. October 2037. She was 19 years old. Her family never accepted the verdict. Not for a single day. If you are following this case with us, hit subscribe right now. We cover cases like this every week, and we always go deeper than the headlines. May 15th, 2026. Netflix drops The Crash, a 90-minute documentary directed by Gareth Johnson. The film covers the crash, the investigation, and the trial, but its defining moment is something that had never happened before. McKenzie Sharilla agreed to a prison interview. She had never spoken to police, never testified at trial. For nearly 4 years, the world knew her only through surveillance footage, text messages, and what witnesses said about her. Now, she was talking. "I'm not a monster," she told the filmmakers. "I'm not saying I'm innocent. I was a driver of a tragedy, but I'm not a murderer." She maintained the POTS defense. She expressed remorse. And then she said, "We would have probably been married by now." The documentary also featured both victim families: Dominic's father, Frank, his sister, Christine, DaVon's father, Scott, his sister, Dean. DaVon's brother, Angelo, had already used the phrase collateral damage at sentencing. DaVon had no relationship with McKenzie, no conflict with her, no reason to be in danger. He was in the wrong car. McKenzie's parents, Steve and Natalie Sharilla, appeared throughout the documentary, both vocal, both committed to their daughter's innocence, and both, within hours of the premiere, at the center of their own firestorm. Steve Shirilla had been an art and digital media teacher at Mary Queen of Peace School in Cleveland, a Catholic private school, for over 7 years. His appearance in the documentary generated 2 moments that went viral almost simultaneously. The first was a shirt. In one of his interview segments, Steve is visibly wearing a shirt with the word "boom" on it. The internet's response was immediate. A father defending his daughter in a documentary about a crash that killed 2 people, sitting on camera in that shirt, became one of the most shared screenshots from the film within 24 hours of the drop. The second was a comment about marijuana. Viewers learned that McKenzie had been using cannabis as a teenager. When Steve was asked about it on camera, he said he did not have a problem with her smoking dope. Parents of students at Mary Queen of Peace were contacting the school before the end credits finished rolling. The Catholic diocese released a statement confirming they were investigating a staff member for demonstrated poor judgment. Steve was placed on administrative leave immediately. He later went on TMZ Live and argued his comments had been taken out of context through heavy editing. He said days of interviews had been condensed to a few controversial moments. The screenshots, however, were already viral. 7 years at that school, and his future there was now formally under investigation. But it was not the documentary that did the most damage. It was what came out after it. Jail calls between McKenzie and her family, obtained by outlets including People magazine and TMZ, surfaced in the days following the premiere. In one call, McKenzie referred to herself as the 3rd victim of the crash. Alongside the 2 men she was convicted of killing. In another, shortly after conviction, she asked her mother to find a bail bondsman for her $500,000 bond. In a third, she revealed she had wanted to testify at trial and had her speech ready, that the jury would see there was a 3rd victim, that she had lost the love of her life, and that she would carry that grief forever. In a 4th call, she told her mother the jail was supposed to rehabilitate people, but that she did not need rehabilitation. Her mother agreed, saying rehabilitation was for actual criminals. And then there was the call about the press coverage. When Natalie told McKenzie the story had been picked up by the Daily Mail in the UK, McKenzie's response was, maybe Kim Kardashian will reach out herself. Her mother said she was hoping that would happen. Natalie also mentioned she had been collecting every article about the case. She was making a scrapbook. 2 young men were dead. Their families had spoken about their grief on camera. And McKenzie and her mother were on the phone discussing celebrity attention and press clippings. The internet did not move past that quickly. 2 months before the documentary premiered, the 8th District Court of Appeals had upheld McKenzie Sharilla's conviction in full. Every argument reviewed, every door closed. Steve Shirilla was on administrative leave. The investigation was ongoing. His future at the school where he had taught for 7 years was uncertain because of decisions made in front of a Netflix camera. Natalie was still fighting. She had said the word 6 times in one statement on film. The legal records said otherwise. DaVon Flanigan had no relationship with McKenzie, no conflict, no reason to be there. His brother called him collateral damage at sentencing, and that phrase followed this case everywhere. Dominic, Russo's mother, had handed over her son's phone calls and videos to investigators. She had watched prosecutors use her son's own fear, his own words about needing help, as evidence that what happened to him was not an accident. McKenzie Sharilla was 22 years old and serving 2 concurrent life sentences. She had told a filmmaker she was not a monster. She had told her mother she was the 3rd victim. The family's collapse did not begin with Netflix. It began on Progress Drive in Strongsville, Ohio, at 5:30 in the morning on July 31st, 2022. Netflix made sure the whole world could see it. If this case stayed with you, you are exactly who this channel is built for. We do not just cover crimes, we follow the evidence, the people, and the truth wherever it leads. Subscribe so you never miss a case. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think really happened? We read every single one.